"Morayo, Morayo," he shouted. "Get out of that room now, before I come in to deal with you." Morayo, a beautiful young lady from a Christian family, the only daughter to Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Otto. She laid down in her room, her eyes filled with regret. She spoke to herself, "If I had known, I wouldn't put myself in this mess." Sei, a tall, dark African young man from a rich family, met Morayo in the university through his best friend Ayodeji. Sei had a close friendship with Ayodeji right from little that they chose the university they wanted to go together. Ayodeji, a handsome young and brilliant man from an average family in the same university with Sei, loved Morayo a lot that he could do anything just to make Morayo happy. He would rather sleep and hunger just to make Morayo feed. He sacrificed his allowance, although he was given little from home, just to ensure Morayo had her best life all through the university. Sei had always been a greedy friend. He always wanted anything that belonged to Ayodeji, despite the fact that he came from a rich family that provided everything he wanted for him. He always wished he was as brilliant as Ayodeji. If Ayodeji got a nice dress for himself, he would insist that he wanted the new dress. He had so much envy and jealousy towards him, but Ayodeji was blinded towards him. Ayodeji kept tolerating him, but what he never imagined was that Sei could have interest in his own girlfriend. One beautiful morning in the school compound, Ayodeji was seated with Morayo. Both of them laughed and played joyfully as they glanced through a book together. Sei drove in with his nice SUV car. He wore a sweet perfume that no one ever passed without giving him a second look. He came down from the car and greeted his friend Ayodeji. Ayodeji, seated with Morayo, went ahead to introduce Morayo as his girlfriend to Sei. Sei looked at Morayo and couldn't stop staring. After the introduction, Sei couldn't stop thinking about Morayo. All through the night, he was awake thinking about Morayo. He spoke to himself, "I'm a man that will never relent until I get what I want." He thought to himself, "How do I get in contact with Morayo?" The next morning, he asked few friends about Morayo. He wanted more information about Morayo, but didn't get what he wanted. He decided to get Morayo's contact from his friend's phone, Ayodeji. He called Ayodeji to come visit him, knowing the plans he had. He opened Ayodeji's phone and took Morayo's contact. Ayodeji, a free-spirited man, who left his phone for his best friend, never knew the plans his so-called best friend had for him. Morayo and Sei started to have late-night conversations on phone without the knowledge of Ayodeji. Morayo fell in love with two friends. Their love continued until they all graduated from the university. Ayodeji finished university, and luckily for him, he got a very good job. He proposed to Morayo, and the engagement and wedding came after. Ayodeji ensured he made Morayo happy in every way. He showered her with gifts, bought her a new car, and never stayed out late. He built a comfortable house they lived in, and placed Morayo on a monthly payment. Years passed. Sei lost contact with Ayodeji. One afternoon, Morayo went to the supermarket to get groceries. Coming down from her car, she heard a voice calling, "Morayo, Morayo." She turned her back, and there was Sei waving at her. Morayo came down and ran to hug Sei in excitement. She asked, "Where have you been, Sei?" They exchanged contact and began to get in touch. Morayo got home and told her husband about Sei that she met at the supermarket. Ayodeji was so happy that he had found his friend he has been searching for. He decided to invite Sei to his apartment. They had a very nice dinner together, and they talked together about old times. One Saturday afternoon, Sei, Morayo's ex-lover, called her that he wanted to see her. When she arrived at Sia's apartment, she was greeted with the same mischievous smile that used to melt her heart. He invited her in. They sat and talked about the past, the parties, the dreams they once had, the times they would stay up late laughing under the stars. To Morayo, her husband was too boring, too focused on work, and too predictable. She wanted more, and that was all she saw in Sei. As they reminisced, Murayo began to feel a strange pull. Old emotions started to resurface. Sei reached for her hand gently, and for a moment it felt like time had rolled back. The room was quiet, their hearts loud. But then reality hit her. She saw her wedding ring glinting under the light and thought of Ayodeji, who trusted her completely. Her heart pounded. She knew this could end badly, but she couldn't resist him. They had a nice time together. Murayo got home and pretended nothing happened. She didn't discuss about her visit to her husband. Murayo kept visiting Sei, and they always had nice time. Months passed. Then Murayo discovered she was pregnant. Fear consumed her. She knew the baby was for Sei. Ayodeji, her husband, had been away on a long business trip during the time of conception. Desperate to hide the truth, Murayo told Sei about the happenings, and Sei convinced Murayo that the only way out was to eliminate her husband. She began poisoning Ayodeji's food slowly, bit by bit, pretending to care for him as he grew weaker every day. Eventually, they thought of the fastest way to get Ayodeji eradicated. One evening, Sei came with a plan. He convinced Murayo to hide stolen money from the company's pulse in her husband's office and report him anonymously to the police. Once he is arrested, Sei said, holding her hand, "You'll have everything. No more hiding. We will leave happily ever after." Murayo hesitated at first and went on with the plan, but her desire for Sei blinded her. She executed the plan. The police raided her husband's office and arrested him that he stole from the company. The whole community was shocked. Ayodeji was disgraced. His family members were shocked and disgraced because they never expected such to come from their son. Murayo moved in to Sei's apartment and they started to live together. But things didn't go as she wished. Murayo didn't realize she left her husband's just to be with a beast. Ayodeji was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. His parent cried and was surprised how their son, who was trained in an African God-fearing home, turned out to be like this. Murayo never bothered to visit her husband in the prison as she continued enjoying her life with Sei. For the first few weeks, life felt like a dream. They stayed up late, went on road trips, spent hours in bed. Murayo felt like a teenager again. They stayed in Ayodeji's house, drove his car, and spent money freely. But soon, things changed. Sei's temper started showing. One day, Murayo went to the market and came home very late. "Why did you stay long at the market?" he shouted. She was about to respond when Sei landed her a slap, and she fell to the floor. The sound echoed. Murayo froze, touching her cheek in shock. "You think you can talk back to me?" Sei growled. It wasn't just one time. Soon, the slaps became regular. Sometimes it was a punch, sometimes a kick, and sometimes real beatings. Murayo started wearing long sleeves to hide her bruises. She told herself Sei just needed time, that things would get better. One night, they had a fight. Murayo felt a sharp pain in her stomach and collapsed. Blood followed. Hours later, she lay in a hospital bed as the doctor said, gently, "I'm sorry. You've lost the baby." Her world crashed. Then it dawned on her that she took the wrong step. Murayo began to think, how do I get out of this mess? Unknowing to Murayo, Sei sold all of the properties that belonged to Ayodeji, as she lied to Murayo that he only wanted the documents to be kept safe with him. Murayo's life became miserable. She slept in tears and woke up in tears. Family and friends abandoned her, as at the time. One beautiful morning, Sei came home after he left the house for 4 days without informing Murayo of his whereabouts. He called her, "Woman, I'm bringing in a new wife tomorrow. Prepare yourself to live with her, or you pack your belongings and get out of my house if you can't cope." Morayo wept bitterly, feeling betrayed. "What do I do?" she told herself. "Let me go back to my husband's house." Sei told her how he has secretly took all the documents and sold all. He said that he has always had a family, which was the new wife he just brought in, but he used her to make things better for their life. Morayo screamed in anger. "Why? What have I done? My husband has always loved me. He doesn't deserve this." She locked herself in the guest room, crying throughout the night. Nightmares hunted her. She saw Ayodeji in prison, staring at her through the bars, whispering, "Why, Morayo? Why did you do this to me?" Sometimes she woke up screaming, drenched in sweat, with Sei banging on her door that she should keep quiet and stop disturbing their peace. The weight of what she has done became unbearable. One morning, Morayo put on her scarf, hid her tear-stained face, and walked to the police station. Through sobs, she confessed everything. How she and Sei framed Ayodeji, how Sei was selling the property, and how she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Police raided the house. Sei and Morayo were both arrested. Days later, Ayodeji was released. Morayo waited outside the station to beg for forgiveness. When Ayodeji stepped out, his face was cold. "You destroyed me, Morayo," he said quietly. "You've turned my home into a place of shame. You chose him over me. Now live with your choice." He turned to Sei. "I loved you as a brother and family. I couldn't have imagined that this betrayal was going to come from you." He walked past them without looking back. Morayo collapsed on the ground. She thought the love, the marriage, the trust, all gone. As she sat in the prison that night, she realized that the man she destroyed her life for never loved him. He only used him. Years later, Morayo was released. Morayo didn't try to chase her husband back. Instead, she focused on becoming a better woman. She organized a support group for wives going through loneliness, taught young women about locality and integrity, and even began working with lawyers wrongly accused men like Ayodeji. She was no longer the woman that betrayed her husband. She became known as Mama Morayo, a voice of wisdom and warning in the community. And she thought she still carried the pain of losing Ayodeji. She had found a deeper peace. Sometimes she would see him from a distance, now remarried and happy. It still hurts, but she smiled because Morayo had learned the hardest truth of all. Never betray people's trust in you. No matter how smart you think you are, karma will definitely come for you.